Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to the information session for our Honeysuckle Lottery. So we are really excited about this because this is the first time that Housing Nantucket has developed homes for sale. So this is a first for us too, on a couple different fronts. Not only are we doing this homeownership opportunity, I mean, I think probably everyone in the room knows that we administer the Covenant program, but in the Covenant program, we're not actually building the homes, and this time we are. We took out loans from Cape Cod 5, and we worked with a partnership with the Richmond companies that they would build the homes for us. And now we're coming into completion here. So just to kind of give you a little idea of how we're going to operate this little info session, I'm just going to go over the application packet and we'll bring it up on the screen. And if anyone has any questions, then you just raise your hand and then you can stop me and or put it in the chat probably if you want to just throw it in the chat, and then I'll see it and try to address the questions as they come up. So um, well, I guess we'll just go ahead and get started here. Let's see. People are still coming in, so just wait just another couple of minutes here, but okay. First, you can navigate to our website. Once you're on our website, then there's our programs link, and you'll see the Honeysuckle Lottery. Once you get there, and you can see 2 homes that are nearing completion, 8 Honeysuckle and 10 Honeysuckle. So if you drive by our office, you know that right in the rear are 3 homes that we were constructing. That third home, 12 Honeysuckle, we have something in mind for it, but we're not going to be releasing that right now. So it will go towards AMI households, but not at this time. So that one's just on hold. So this is a lottery for those 2 attainable homes that are for sale in the Sandpiper development off Old South Road. Attainable is a new term that just got coined at last year's town meeting. And you've got affordable. Most people are familiar with affordable housing programs, but here attainable means that it's serving higher income brackets. So those earning at or below 240% of the area median income. The construction is moving every day. There's progress there. So we are on track to get these homes ready for occupancy in the late spring or early summer of this year. They're 3-bedroom, single-family homes with 2.5 baths, and each one is about 1,782 square feet. The purchase price is $995,000. And the way we came up with that, we'll just take a quick look. Hopefully everyone's checked this stuff out already, but if not, this is one of the pictures. This is at, I think this one's at, yeah, 8 Honeysuckle. So just got the countertops in. We are ordering the appliances. So the fridge and the stove and dishwasher, the washer, dryer, and microwave will all be included in the purchase price. If you read this whole blog, you'll get all this information, but pretty much here's where the sale price calculator came from. We used an interest rate of 6.88, which was a 1/4% higher than what Freddie Mac's published rate was when we did this calculation back in February. So what we do is we kind of envision this situation where a household puts down 10%, and then what mortgage could they afford with this interest rate? So we say it's a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. So they can afford about $5,800 for their mortgage payment. And then there's things like property taxes. And I know many people here have taken our first time home buyer class. So you know that there's also taxes that need to get paid and insurance. Sometimes you need to pay a PMI, so that's a private mortgage insurance. We don't actually anticipate that people at this income level are going to have to pay PMI based on what the local banks tell us that the programs that they can offer, even though it is, we're doing this off of a 10% down payment. But we included that PMI payment because it makes the monthly housing cost go higher. So it just means that hopefully when the homeowner purchases the home, they won't need to be budgeting for that $410. So it just makes it more affordable for them. The condo fees are estimated at about $50 per month. And so then with all of those costs together, then that means the necessary income to afford this monthly housing payment is about $284,000. So the way this is kind of a formula that we use across all different kinds of affordable housing, like when we figure out what is affordable for a household, we take the number of bedrooms that are in the unit, add 1 to household size, so it's 4-person household. So someone earning up to 240% of the area median income means that for a 4-person household, that means they need to earn below $348,000. So they could technically afford up to $700 of a housing cost if you're saying that that's 30% of that income. But we wanted to make it more affordable or affordable for a greater income strata. So we gave a 40% affordability window. So back that housing cost down to about $7,000, $7,110 per month to come up with this $995,000 purchase price. So I know that's a lot, and I just want to stop right here and see if anyone has any questions about how we came up with this purchase price, because it's kind of a lot to, and it sounds like a lot. Oh gosh, $1 million basically for attainable housing on Nantucket, crazy. But we know a lot of people here don't qualify for, say, the covenant program, can't buy the market rate house. So a new home for under $1 million, there's nothing else out there. So we think that this is good. All right, I'm not seeing any questions, so we're going to move on. Oh, I'm looking at my blog post here, and I see that the proceeds that we raise from this also are going to go into other developments that we do, including the Wiggles Way rental development that we're doing on Fairgrounds Road. So that makes us feel good, and I hope it makes others feel good too. So let's see. Go back. So the 2 lots themselves are, each one is over 5,200 square feet of land. It's in the R5 zone. All right, I see a question. All right, we'll talk about that in a minute about households, so that's later on. So each lot is, I think the other one is, I want to say it's 5,800 square feet. So one of them is 5,200, the other one's 5,800. And when we'll talk about this a little bit later, but the household that's picked first in the lottery gets to pick which house they would like to purchase. And then the next household will get the other house. So you'll be able to make a decision based on if you like 8 honeysuckle or 10 honeysuckle further on down the road. So each features an open living and kitchen area on the first floor with the quartz countertops, white cabinets, appliances. There's a half bath on the first level and washer dryer. And there's the luxury vinyl plank flooring like you saw in the picture. There's a carpeted stairway that leads up to the second floor. The master bathroom is upstairs, so that means that there's a full bathroom off of the master bedroom has a full bath right off of it. And then across the hall are two bedrooms which share a end of the hall bathroom, full bathroom. The homes are really well insulated and they have electric ducted heat pump. So the heating's really nice. It's within the flooring and it gives a very efficient heating and cooling system. There's a crawl space that's accessible through the first floor inside the home. And then there's like you can store things down there. And outside is really nice too. It's got a Belgian block apron with like a small pebble for the driveway. And at least two cars can fit in there. Okay. All right. Oh, I see questions in the chat right to me, so I'll get to those in a minute. All right, so a lot of people kind of were confused. A lot of people were applying, and maybe even some people on this call. You see maximum incomes here. So per your household type, you're going to find out what the maximum income that you can earn to qualify for this opportunity. But there's no minimum income here. So a lot of people were inquiring about it, but ultimately were deemed ineligible for the opportunity because when they go to the bank to get the pre-approval letter, which is required for this opportunity as part of the application, they weren't able to substantiate the purchase price of $995,000. So that means that a down payment plus what the bank is going to lend you needs to equal that 995,000. Additionally, the household cannot own any Nantucket real estate at the time of the purchase. So there are restrictions on owning these homes. And one of them is that this needs to be your primary residency. So you can't leave or, with the covenant program, for example, it's a 10 out of 12 months per year that you need to be living in a covenant home. This is different. This needs to be your primary residence. So there is no leaving and coming back. This needs to be your full-time residence. And so there's no renting of the unit at all. If there is any, say someone wants to rent out a bedroom or something to that effect, you need to get prior approval from the monitoring agent, which is Housing Nantucket, before you do rent out a bedroom or get anybody else that's outside of your household to be living in the space. So that's different than with the covenant program, for example. Really, if you have any questions whatsoever, once you're one of these owners and you're just not sure if you're doing the right thing, always want to check in with us as the monitoring agent before you do it, because the last thing you want to do is get nabbed for something that you didn't know you were doing wrong. If, say, a neighbor might report, some kind of activity that they might, oh, they're renting out the unit, or there's more cars in the driveway, or something like that. It's always better for the homeowner to have come to Housing Nantucket before and asked for the approval rather than for us to find out about it from someone else. So there are, exceptions to the rule. You don't want to go into this wanting to try to find the loopholes, but if there's some kind of crazy situation within your family and you do need to leave the island for 2 months to take care of an aging parent, for example, then just let us know before you do it, and then we'll work something out. So always want to give us a heads up first. Alrighty, I didn't mention about the assets. So there's a asset cap of $500,000. So in order to be eligible to purchase this home, you cannot have more than $500,000 of unrestricted assets. And restricted assets are things like retirement accounts. So things that you're going to basically put away savings. There's no penalties. If there is a penalty for you withdrawing it, then that it would be a restricted asset. So what we're looking at here are unrestricted assets, and that includes real estate off island. So some people, there's a preference for first-time home buyers with this opportunity, but you don't have to be a first-time home buyer in order to participate. So some people do own real estate off island, and that is allowed, but it's, there's going to be first-time home buyers who don't own any real estate who are going to be preferred and chosen, selected above you. So even when we're pulling out the lottery numbers, even if someone who is not a first-time home buyer gets picked first, we're going to give preference for a first-time home buyer. So even if they're picked further on down the line, that first-time home buyer is going to get automatically bumped up ahead of anybody else who has owned a home in the past. So here we are at the info session, and we're going to make this available on our YouTube channel. We are recording this. So you'll be able to look at all these details afterwards if there's something that you missed. We have an electronic application, so that's a little different for this opportunity too. This is really the first time that we're doing that. And we thought that was pretty cool because it's available in any language just by using a translate app through the browser. We're going to have the deadline for applications is 2 p.m. on May 6th. And then we'll hold the lottery on Zoom May 8th at 5 p.m. And you'll see us pull, you'll see us put each number into the hat, and then you'll see us pull each number out of the hat. So this next paragraph here, after you apply, you'll receive a detailed email from our staff within a week of us receiving your application. So if it's been a week after you sent in your application and you haven't heard from us, then you have to give us a call or inquire directly with us. That the responsibility is on you there. A lot of people have been applying and they're eligible. So what happens is Charlene, who's primarily handling this task, so it's likely to come. The email will come from Charlene at our office, and she'll tell you what your lottery number is, and she'll give you a little blurb within the lottery within that email to tell you what the numbers mean. The first number is the number of your application. The second is the type of household tier that you're in. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Type 3 household, type 2 household, type 1 household. The third is going to be some letters that indicate if you're a first-time home buyer or you're not a first-time home buyer, because that's one of our preferences. And the third letter is going to be whether you're a local or you're not a local, because we have a preference for locals. We want people who are here on the island, already living here and working here. That's what we are aiming this opportunity for. So it doesn't mean that the opportunity, it might get awarded to somebody who doesn't meet those preferences, but we want to try to serve all those people first. And all right, our donors are a huge reason why we're all here, and we are just so grateful to them, especially Tom and Lisa Ragno, who kind of have this vision that they're summer residents, they've been coming here forever. They see how the lack of affordable housing impacts not only the people who are in need of housing, but also the character of the island, the summer experience for everybody, the whole Nantucket experience for everybody, and it impacts the ability of the island to function properly. So thank you very much to them. And we're really grateful to the Richmond Great Point property developments because they've been really amazing and delivering us a really good product. So we shout out to them, as well as the Town of Nantucket's Affordable Housing Trust. They are going to be the deed restriction holder for this. So that just means that this opportunity, these two opportunities are going to be permanently affordable forever and ever. And so Housing Nantucket hopefully will be around forever and ever. But just in case we go away, we want the Town of Nantucket to really have a stake in this development, so that if there's ever any kind of issue or anything down the road, that you've got this authority in there who can purchase the property, if say there's going to be a foreclosure and there's some kind of danger of it going into the open market, then the town is going to be involved in all of that. And so we're grateful for their help to get that going. Plus the Community Foundation, Cape Cod 5 Savings Bank, the Nantucket Garden Club, town meeting voters helped out here. So everybody on the call hopefully is voting and will go vote again this year town meeting, and plus many others. So thank you very much. Then here we just put a couple of plans. Hopefully everyone's been able to drive by and you can see there's a deck in the back with some French doors, a couple porches and stoops, floor plans. You can check all this stuff out, but they are really quite nice. So I'm just going to take a glance at the chat here. All right. All right, I see questions about the first-time home buyers and okay, so I'll talk about the first-time home buyers, but there was one relevant question so far. So the question is, if a household has a total income significantly less than the income cap, do we advise that they not even apply for this lottery? So the determining factor here is going to be, what is this household able to put down as a down payment? And then when they go to the bank, what is the bank going to lend them? So it's really a personal question if you want to apply for this, because say you have $400,000 in the bank. You've met the asset cap, so you're below the $500,000 asset cap. If you can put $400,000 down, then you really only need a $595,000 mortgage. So if you're a household, when you go to the bank and the bank says, yes, we'll give you a $595,000 mortgage, then you can afford the house. So what we're looking at is the amount of assets that a household has, plus the pre-approval letter, to see if those two numbers together equal the $995,000 purchase price. So that's really going to be, it's a personal decision, because if you don't have $400,000 and you can't get the loan from the bank, then it's really not, you can apply, you're not going to get a lottery number, so ineligible. So I hope that makes sense. And another question, will there be an opportunity to see the homes prior to the lottery? And the answer is no. You can drive by anytime you want, but we are not doing any kind of viewing right now. The houses are under construction. And so you'll have, if you're selected for the lottery, you'll certainly have an opportunity to walk through the homes before you sign a purchase and sale agreement or anything like that. But we're not doing an open house. It's an active construction site with workers there every single day. So that's not part of this plan. All right, sorry. Caleb and I had, Caleb's here from the office. He and I had a little plan where he was going to view the chat messages so that, but everyone's sending it right to me, direct messages. So it's hard to keep up with all of this stuff and talk to. So I'm trying, but maybe we'll go through this info packet here and then at the end, we'll give an opportunity for people to raise their hand and ask questions if I didn't answer them. So we already covered this flyer. Here's how you get to the application, the QR code, or click this link. And etc. I think we talked about all this stuff already. Talked about this. So there was a HOA question. Will there be an opportunity to look at the HOA? So that's a homeowners association documentation. And yes, I don't have that right now, but certainly before the purchase, you would have the opportunity to look at that. All right, we talked about this a bit. I'll just kind of, I'm kind of running through. I, but yeah, so if you're sending stuff in the chat, here we go. Okay. So the deed rider, we didn't really talk too much about that, but what is going to happen is that there'll be a deed rider, which is just what we call like a affordability restriction that gets recorded on the deed at the time of purchase. So right now there's no deed rider on there. We could sell these homes to the open market if we wanted to, but that's not our mission. So we're going to put the deed rider on there, the first sale. And this limits the amount that the home can be resold for and requires the resale to another income eligible buyer, ensuring the home stays affordable in perpetuity. We recommend that you look at this with a attorney before, so that you understand the provisions. But I'll just kind of talk about like just a brief overview. How do we figure out what the resale price is going to be? Because I don't think we really talked about that yet. So the way these things work, and this is a pretty standard thing across the state for these kind of deed riders, the intent is that the home will stay as affordable for the first buyer for every subsequent buyer. So what happens is each house gets assigned what's called a resale price multiplier. And the way we come up with that resale price multiplier is we take the initial sale price and we divide out the median income at the time of the first sale. So for example, we would take the purchase price $995,000, divide out what the median income price or median income at the time of the sale. And there actually was just an adjustment in 2024. So this 136,300 number that we used in 2023 isn't valid anymore. But let's just say it was, because I don't know the 2024 number off the top of my head. So we're going to divide out 136,300 to that 995 number. And I don't have my calculator handy, but let's just say it is, 9 is the resale price multiplier. So then in 20 years, when this homeowner decides to sell the home, then you take that resale price multiplier, 9, and you multiply it by the median income at that time. So let's say it's $200,000 per year. It's the median income. So 9 times 200,000 is $1.8 million. So, I mean, of course, we all want it to turn out that way so that your house, the sale price keeps going up, but that's the kind of formula so that it's equally affordable for that next buyer as it was for the first initial buyer. I hope that makes sense. If not, throw something in the chat and we can talk about it some more later. So let's see. Now we have the lottery. We do not discriminate on any of the protected classes, of course, but through the lottery, we don't know. We're just pulling names, so that helps us to be fair. And if you have any kind of disability or you need any help with the application, the electronic application or something else, then just let us know and we'll work with you on that. We talked a lot about these income limits. All right, so once you're picked for the opportunity to buy the house, that's when we really are going to start getting into like, you need to provide all of your documentation to us. So if you look on our website, you probably saw this button here, require documents if selected. This is actually going to be the paper copy of the application that you're going to submit so you're going to have the opportunities to submit this once you get selected in the lottery. So this is where we ask you a whole bunch more questions and you're going to give your your taxes and your pay stubs and any kind of Social Security or retirement or any income at all, self-employment, all sorts of things, unemployment. This is where we really start to ask for the details. If you're divorced or get any child support or alimony, all this stuff gets documented. So please have a look at that and figure out if that's something what applies to your situation. And so please read all of this. We've got restricted assets, and then here's where we go into what is not counted, like personal property, life insurance. I know each one of these lotteries has different rules. So I know in other Sandpiper lotteries, you have had to give some of this information, and restricted assets did count towards the asset caps, but here they don't. We do want you to list it though, because we want to make sure that we have that. Okay. All right. Can you own real estate? Okay. You can own real estate, and the way we figure out what the asset is worth is we get a recent appraisal, or in fact, a lot of times we take the tax assessment value, so a tax assessed, we'll take that as the value, and then a recent mortgage statement. So then we figure out how much equity the applicant has in the property. So say the property is appraised or assessed at $400,000, and you show us a mortgage statement that says you owe $300,000 on the property, then that means your asset is $100,000. So we're going to count that towards the asset cap. At the time that you purchase the attainable home, you must be fully divested of all ownership or beneficial interest in Nantucket County. So these rules, we took these rules from the covenant program. All right, I see a bunch of questions here. I'm just going to take a minute to answer some of these questions about first-time home buyers. What's the reasoning behind bumping up a first-time home buyer? And that's just because they haven't had the opportunity to buy a home. So it's just one of the preferences that we chose. So yes, we understand people invest in property off island, and that's fine. But for this particular opportunity, we have to make choices about who are preferred, and that was one of the preferences. So let's see. So they say the question is about the resale price. So they say, so there is that resale price restriction established by Housing Nantucket that is tied to the house, but the home is completely owned by the buyer, like any other home on the market would be, correct? And the answer is yes. So the question is, if you're the owner of that home, you are the owner, there's a restriction that just there's rules around what the price is that you can sell it for. So if you buy the house for $995 and there's no restriction on it, you could turn around tomorrow and sell it for $1.7 million. So that's what's called a windfall. And we don't want someone to get a windfall, one of these owners to get a windfall and take advantage of that big gap between where the market is and where the affordable purchase price is. So that's the only reason why we're putting a resale cap on it. And so you own the home. When you go to sell it, you have to do certain things, like you have to notify us that you're going to sell it. And then we'll do the calculation and tell you what your house is worth based on what the median income is and what the resale price multiplier that was assigned to your property is. So I hope that answers your question. Let's see. Just looking through. Who is the first time home owner determined by? So that, why don't we go here into, there's some questions around first time home buyers here. So can I apply for this lottery as a displaced homemaker or a single parent if I currently own a home? So you can. Does my divorce or separation need to be finalized? And it doesn't need to be finalized when you're applying for the lottery, but it has to be finalized before you reserve the home. So before you sign the P&S. And that's because we want to make sure that we know how much income and what the settlement from your assets, what that's going to be, because that impacts like whether you're qualified for the house. So that's why. And you can't switch the homes around once you pick your house. And let us know if you have a disability, and we'll figure out if you can, do you need help with the application. So I thought there was more stuff about the first time home buyer, but maybe that comes later on. So anyway, now we'll get into household size and composition. I know this is a tough one for a lot of people because, I hear things like, we are a married couple. Why are we being kind of pushed to have children? That doesn't make sense. Why, these programs seem to be geared towards larger families. And the answer is because there are so few of these opportunities, it does seem that way. And recently, these 3-bedroom homes have been the ones that have been created. So it's these larger families that are being served. But we need to make sure that we're housing the most people with the very limited resources that we have. So that's why there's these preferences for larger households so that at least one occupant can be in a bedroom. And we don't want to overfill the housing with more than 2 occupants per bedroom. So that's why there's a maximum of 6-person household that these opportunities can serve. We require married couples to share a bedroom. And unless there's some kind of reason why they can't, from some kind of, and you'll have to provide documentation of that if there's a mental health issue or something else going on. Yeah, that's this here. So priorities for a 3-bedroom unit are going to be all 6-person households, all 5-person households, all 4-person households, 3-person households where there's 1 head of household plus 2 dependent members, or a 3-person household where there's 2 heads of household under the criteria C, where they need to have separate bedrooms, plus 1 member dependent. Type 2, basically, they could live in a 2-bedroom home if it was available. You can still apply for a 3-bedroom home, but the preference goes to type 3 household because it's a 3-bedroom unit. So these are 2 heads of households plus 1 member, 2 heads of household under criteria C, 1 head of household plus 1 member. Type 1 households are basically 2 heads of households or 1-person household, married couple or something like that is going to be a type 1 household. If there's an unborn child in the household, then that does count as a household member. So you have to submit proof of pregnancy. Type 2 households or type 1 households can apply for the 3-bedroom unit, but they're not going to get preference. So every applying type 3 household will be given the opportunity to buy before the type 2 household or even type 1 household. So that's these 2 questions. And we talked about divorce already. So the mortgage pre-approval, is required with the application. It can be any lender, but it needs to have a fixed interest rate through the full term of the mortgage. The loan must have a current fair market interest rate, and that's no more than 2 percentage points above Mass Housing's current rate. No more than 2 points. Unfortunately, FHA and VA don't accept the terms of the deed restriction, so that's not going to work on this one. And the buyer needs to put down at least 3% of the purchase price as down payment, and half of that needs to come with the buyer's own funds. If the heads of household are not married, then both members need to be on the mortgage. So we encourage the households to talk to the banks and make sure that they know about the resale restrictions and guidelines for this program. And that probably means showing them the deed rider so they can look at it. We worked with the local bank to come up with the terms of the deed rider, so it should be good, but you definitely want to let them know that this is what you're applying for. So the tax rate is the 3.17 is the tax rate on Nantucket for fiscal year 24. And so you take the home, divide it by $1,000, that's $995, and then take that and multiply it by 3.17, divide by 12, so then you get a monthly tax payment. Can a non-household member co-sign on the mortgage? And the answer is no. Next, going through the application selection and move-in process. It's a two-step process. First, we're going here. This is where we are right now, applying for the program. So through May 6th, we're going to be accepting applications. On May 8th, we're going to have the lottery. Within 3 days, we're going to let everybody who applied for the lottery know where they are on the waiting list. And then for the next 3 or 4 weeks, we're going to be collecting information from the winning applicants, like the tax information and all their asset information, and making sure that everything they reported in the online application is verifiable through paper trail. Then the winning households will be given the opportunity to select a unit, sign a purchase and sale agreement. So that's, say, within 2 weeks. Then they'll obtain a mortgage commitment, which takes about 30 days. And then we do a final review, just make sure everything's okay. And then the closing and move-in will occur. So we are really hoping that this will happen before July 1st. And if everything keeps going the way it has been, we're right on track for that. Basically, as soon as the COs are ready, so that's the certificate of occupancies are ready, then the units are able to be sold. And most likely you'll want to get a home inspector in there. Just make sure that, just double check the work that our builder has done and make sure that there's nothing outstanding, or anybody who's taken the home buyer ed class knows that that's an important step, even when you're buying a new home. So you want to do that before you purchase the house. Okay, we talked a lot about applying for the lottery. We talked about this already. If you're ineligible, we're going to let you know also, and we're going to let you know why. So if we have something wrong, like for example, someone had submit the application and said they were not a first-time home buyer. So when they got their lottery number, they read it closely. They read that email closely from Charlene, and they saw that they were given a number that reflected they were not a first-time home buyer, but in fact they were a first-time home buyer. So then we fixed their lottery number, and then now they have the right number. So if you get all the way down the road and you can't submit your necessary documentation, then we're going to go to that next household on the list. So we'll let you know what you're missing, of course, and we'll give you a deadline when you need to get that into us by. But if the deadline gets missed, then unfortunately, we're gonna have to move on. Okay. The lottery itself, we're going to go on YouTube and we'll pull the names and then put them on a list. This will reflect the order the households will get to move forward in the process. And every single household gets drawn in that lottery. So it's not like we just pick number 1, number 2, and then we stop. We pick every single number that's in the lottery and then make those wait lists so that we can just keep going down if the buyers fall out. So this is the way we're going to set up the waiting list. This is based on those preferences we talked about. So the top tier is going to be all type 3 households who are first-time home buyers. Second tier, all type 2 households who are first-time home buyers. Third tier, all type 1 households who are first-time home buyers. And then into the fourth tier, all type 3 households who are not first-time home buyers. Type 2 households who are not first-time home buyers. Type 1 households who are not first-time home buyers. So within 4 days of the lottery, you're going to get a list that goes over what the wait lists are. Housing Nantucket's a monitoring agent for this, and so we are going to we're going to have a long-term relationship. Not only are you going to be our neighbor, but we're also going to be checking in with you and making sure that all of the restrictions are kept as you own the property too. So this is good. You might see right now, we plan to put in a fence, that we don't have it in there right now, but we plan to put a fence once the landscaping goes in for the property, then we'll put a board fence all along the back of the property so that there's more privacy between what we have going on in our parking lot and our affordable rentals, and then what the homeowners at Honeysuckle have too. So you won't be able to see each other. So we talked about the required document guide. So you're going to get 1 week to get us all that paperwork back. And this, I mean, this says that all the units are scheduled to have occupancy within 12 months of the lottery date. I really hope it's really within 2 months of the lottery date, but we just kind of put that in there just to give some room in case anything crazy happens. This just talks about the formal eligibility, because at this point, the application, you're just self-reporting what your income is and stuff. So we need to have that documentation reviewed, make sure that we don't have any questions and we have everything we need to verify that the owners are income qualified. Okay, once we let you know that you're on the clock, we call it. So that means that you have 3 business days to complete a reservation agreement with us. So that means like we've checked your income, you are qualified. Okay, let's take the next step. So the next step is a reservation agreement, and that's when we're going to need a little bit of money. So it's a refundable deposit of $1,000. So that's when you go, after you've done that, then you're going to go to the bank. And if something happens with the financing and you're unable to get the financing, then you can get that deposit back because it's a contingency. So you want to get your attorney geared up too, so that they're going to be able to help you with your purchase and sale agreement. And if the purchase and sale agreement should get signed within 10 days, and if that's not possible, then we're going to go to the next person on the list and start the process again. So we'll drop, if you can't make it happen within those 10 days, then you'll go to the bottom of the list. If there's something out of your control or something like that, then you'll still stay on the list, and if you would like to be, but we're gonna have to go through all the other applicants before we come back to you. So, okay, so age qualified households, displaced homemakers, and single parents. So based on the lottery results and positions on the wait list, households will be able to estimate when they're about to reach the top of the waiting list, and therefore will know how much time they have in order to, before they have to sell their house or finalize their separation or divorce. So if this is you, then you'll need to provide a copy of the signed P&S for your current home so that we know you're serious. And if you're in the separation or divorce process, then we need some kind of divorce decree or separation agreement before you can get to the top of the wait list. If you're not able to provide those things, then you will not be put on the clock, which means that you are not going to be able to purchase the unit and drop from the waiting list. So step 2B is signing the purchase and sale agreement. So once the household signs the reservation agreement, they're going to have 10 days to sign the purchase and sale agreement and put down the deposit. The deposit is a fee of about 5% of the sale price, and it will have the purchase and sale agreement will have the closing date on it. After we sign the reservation agreement, then we're going to give you the purchase and sale agreement, the deed rider, and the master deed. And then you bring that over to your bank, and the mortgage commitment officers are going to give that the go-ahead and send it up to the underwriters or wherever they need to send it. So, okay. All right, I just got a question that says, what if one of the dependents is not a current resident, but would move to Nantucket if the housing's obtained? How do we categorize this household type? So the way that we figure out who is in your household is by your tax returns. So if the person is not on your tax returns, then they can't count as part of your household. So I know it's a tough spot, but that's the way that we verified that household members are here. So moving on, if you reserve a unit and then, okay, we talked about this already, can't switch a unit. The mortgage commitment, once you have pre-approval, that's one step, but it doesn't ensure that you're going to get the mortgage. So then, like we said earlier, you're going to have to go back to your bank and get them to do the due diligence they need to do on their end. Most likely, you'll go back to the same lender that gave you the pre-approval letter, but you don't have to. And there's a contingency date in the purchase and sale agreement, so you want to make sure that you're keeping that date in mind. If something happens where you need an extension, then let us know. So always just keep the communication lines flowing. And yeah, just make sure that you're communicating with your mortgage lender too, because if they need to do an appraisal, say on the property, then maybe they need access to the home. So let us know and we'll schedule that. So assuming this all happens quickly, the final review is going to be super easy. But if for one crazy reason, if there is some time that elapses between when you are selected to buy the house and when the house actually closes, then we'll probably just have to do like a quick review and make sure nothing changed. So you want to make sure that you maintain records of your income and your assets until you actually close. Once you close on the home, then there's no more maintaining financial eligibility on our end. You can earn as much as you want or can. You can buy more real estate. We don't have any kind of say in how you handle your finances at that point. Of course, you're going to pay your bank, but as long as you keep that mortgage paid, then there's not going to be an issue. Okay. Once we get to about a month before the closing, then you want to give us that mortgage commitment letter so we make sure that you're getting a good interest rate and points and the length of the loan, and the APR meet all the standards that we set out from the get-go. So we want to make sure there's no subprime lending happening. What else? Then we have some work to do here at Housing Nantucket. We email the resale price certificate. So that's where we talked about before, where you get a resale price multiplier that gets assigned to the property. And that's when we're going to give it to the closing attorney, and that gets recorded in your deed. So like in our example, that's where it would say there's the resale price multiplier for this property is 9. So there's a little slot in the deed where they write in 9. So any household that qualified as a first-time home buyer will not be able to receive the resale price certificate, which is necessary for closing, until they actually closed on the home. So any of these age-qualified households or displaced homemakers or exempt single parents, that's, So once you get that sold, then we'll be able to move forward. So the purchase and sale agreement will set the close date, and if everything goes smoothly, then we'll close on that date, and the lender and the lawyer will help to make sure that you get all the documents required to close on the date. And then once you've closed, then you can move in. So you can sleep there the first night. You can sleep on the floor. You can do anything you want because it's your house. So there's no future income or eligibility reviews on our end. Just a summary on the deed rider. So this is just kind of like in plain language. So this isn't the deed rider itself. If you went onto the website, and maybe some of you have, just go here real quick. You can see what the sample deed rider is. This is the legal document. It's 21 pages long, and it goes over all sorts of stuff that, it's going to go over in full detail all of the rules. So like we talked about before, the maximum resale price. So where do we come up with this? It's a price so that people earning 200% AMI are going to be able to afford this. So it just, if there's ever any issues, then we go back to the deed rider for the special situations. Hopefully it's all covered in here. So the summary is just, this is what it says. So plain English, you're going to have to sign this deed rider, and this helps the unit to stay affordable in perpetuity. So this is because you're getting the home at a substantial discount from the property's fair market value. And there's some things that you need to do on your end for getting this kind of opportunity. And one of them is that it has to be your principal residence. That's super important. So this is for year-rounders. That's Housing Nantucket's mission. And we want to make sure that the home is available for year-round use. So you can't rent or lease without prior written approval from us. And then every year in January, we send an annual residency verification. And that's something that you need to send back to us in order to be compliant. And you'll send a utility bill also, which we'll check and make sure that the property is being used. You can see with the utility usage how, there's a big dip for 2 months or 3 months in the middle of the winter. We know something might be up. So we're going to start looking into that. There's fines that we can impose. It's up to $300 per day per violation fine. So it's really important that that you follow the rules. Refinancing. I saw there was a question in the chat also about refinancing, and I think it was something, let me just look through here real quick. So I make sure I answer this. that is not correct. Okay. I see somebody had said, sorry, they said that they got their lottery number and it says we are NFTB, not first time home buyer. So, but that's not correct. So it sounds like something's going on with our system and how we're assigning that first time home buyer classification. So I'm glad that you checked that, and really good for you for doing everything so early. So email us back and let us know that that's not right, and we'll try to figure out where the mismatch is, but we'll have to reassign you a new number that has that FTB in there. And, all right, sorry, I'm just looking through more questions. So it says, my question is 2 working adults and 1 child is not considered top tier 3, and that's correct. So 2, well, you know, this actually, if it's a married couple, then, and that includes common law marriage, then that couple is expected to share a room with 1 child. So that's a type 2 household. If it was, say, adult parent, so say a grandparent and a child, then that would be a top 3, a tier 3 household. So depends. The question isn't really clear. 2 working adults, depends on what the relationship is. So I thought I saw something about refinancing here, but now I'm not seeing it. Oh yeah, are you allowed to refinance the home after purchasing if interest rates go down? And the answer is yes. So you need to let us know. So here, this is this question right here. All requests to refinance must be approved by the monitoring agent before the owner can close on a new loan. So this happens with all the 40B units that we monitor also. So we need to know why you're refinancing. And if it's a good reason, like for example, because the interest rate has gone down, 1 point, 2 points, I don't know what, then we're going to approve it. If it's something like we want to take cash equity out of the home and we're lending, or we're let's say in our example there, now based on our calculations, the home is worth $1.8 million. So you want to take equity out and it's a high interest rate, we're not going to approve a situation where you're going to get yourself into an unsustainable housing payment. So it really depends, but if it's a good reason, like a lower interest rate, then that would be something. And there are very clear-cut rules about that. So we can share them with you if you'd like to see them, but we do this all the time for other 40B units. So, okay, capital improvements. This one's kind of interesting too, because the max sale price is just a set price. There's not a lot of incentive to put improvements on it. So in other words, solar panels, for example. So if you wanted to put solar panels on this home, say the solar panels price is $20,000, okay? Then that doesn't count as a capital improvement. So it's really a choice for you. If you, maybe the energy that you're going to save over the lifetime of the solar panels is going to be greater than the $20,000 that you're willing to expend today, then that's a choice that you're going to make. But we're not going to be able to add that $20,000 to the resale price for your home, just straight like that. So like in this case, there's no basement, but let's say there was a basement and you wanted to improve the basement, finish the basement, and you put $50,000 into the basement, and then you want to increase the purchase price by $50,000. That's not allowable. So the things that would be allowable are necessary capital improvements, like you need a new roof or any kind of heating or plumbing, any repairs due to termite or water damage, any kind of luxury improvements, they're basically called. If you want to put a bigger outdoor deck on there, you want to rip out the vinyl flooring and put in, some other kind of fancy stuff. If you want to put a shed on the property, or you want to increase the ground cover if you're able to do that, That's not going to get added to the price of the home when you go to sell it. Maybe that might improve your life or improve your ability to do your job because now you have a, garage or shed or something where you can store some of your supplies, but you can't increase the purchase price for your home. When you want to go sell your home, then you need to let us know, and that's called a conveyance notice. And we have a form letter basically that you have to send to us, and then we calculate the resale price for you. And then there's a whole process that goes in there, which we're going to talk about in a minute. So this says that it's designed to be affordable. The max resale price is designed to be affordable for households earning at or below 240% of the AMI. So that means households earning up to that amount are qualified to buy the home. But the way that we calculated the price is actually making it affordable for a 200% AMI household. So all of that stuff is in the deed rider. So, when I'm gone and some other lady's doing this job, she's going to bring up the deed rider and she's going to look at it, and it's all set there in the deed rider to figure out what the purchase price is for the home. Even when, like in our example before, if say now the calculation says it's $1.8 million, it doesn't mean that anybody out there is going to buy your house for $1.8 million. So it's likely that, if at that time the income went up so much and all this other stuff, and if the housing crisis is still, going on, and you keep the home up, is another important thing, then you probably will be able to find a buyer at that price. But if you don't care for the unit and you don't clean it and it's just packed full of stuff and you let the roof rot and, nothing works, there's no guarantee that someone's going to pay you that price for your home. So you definitely have incentive to keep it up. So once we let you know what the max sales price is and what the income levels are, then we're going to help you to find an eligible purchaser. That's someone who's earning below 240 AMI. Hopefully all that will happen within 90 days. But also, the town of Nantucket could elect to purchase the home at the max resale price within the 90 days. This means that the town, like I mentioned in the beginning of the call, the town has a right of first refusal here. So if there was any kind of crazy situation where there's a foreclosure or something's happening where the house might go to the open market, then the town can purchase the home, but the town doesn't really want to purchase the home from you. They want it to be owned by residents. They want people who are living and working in the community to be able to buy and own homes. So this is kind of like the backup plan, that the town can buy it if there's any kind of thing that happens. So it's unlikely, but it's a good safety measure. And yeah, these are just some rules around, hopefully it'll happen within 90 days, but if something crazy happens there, then there's an extra 60 days that can get extended. And then if you can't find an eligible purchaser and the town doesn't want to find the house, then you can sell it to at the max resale price to someone who isn't qualified, and they can buy it at the max resale price. So that could be to someone earning 360,000, I'm sorry, like 300% of the area median income, in other words, above 240 AMI, then they could buy it at your max resale price, but there's that deed rider still going to get recorded on the property. So then when they go to sell the house, they're going to have to sell it to an affordable buyer if they can find one. And they are going to have to live there year round. They can't rent the unit. All the kind of restrictions that were on there for you are going to be on there for them. It's just that income cap criteria isn't going to be met. So that's good. And let's see what else. I'm just going to look at this chatting here, make sure I got all the questions. Didn't see anything about the land bank fee. Is the land bank fee due at closing? So my understanding is that this would be through the affordability exemption. And you know what? That's a good reminder for me to give them a heads up that this is happening. But they do have the exemption that if there's any kind of affordability deed restriction on there, then you're exempt from the land bank fee. So thank you. I'm going to advocate for that, but I'm fairly certain that it's not going to apply. And I certainly will advocate for it. So, okay, so lots of thank yous. And then, okay, I think I answered all the questions in the chat. Does anyone else have any questions? Oh, good. Caleb put in the O exemption. Great, thank you. So this is, let's just take a look at it together real quick here. Oh, you put in the text. Okay. Because here, O exemption. We can just read it together here. Where is it? Okay, so the O exemptions on page 19. Okay. So as stated in section 12, the exemption O applies to the purchase price of a transfer of real property interest that is subject to and used consistent with an affordable housing restriction, provided, however, that the affordable housing restriction has a term remaining at the time of the transfer of not less than 5 years, and provided further that the purchaser shall make the real property interest that is the subject of the transfer the purchaser's actual domicile within 2 years of the time of the transfer. So this just says that yes, basically, because it has an affordable housing restriction, you're gonna get an O exemption, and you have to live there year round, and you have to make sure that you live there for 5 years or more in order to not have to pay that back. That's the same in all the O exemptions. So, you can't buy it for 2 years and then sell it. Well, you could, but then you're going to owe the land bank their money. So you're not going to get exempt if you only own it for 2 years. You have to own it for 5 years, and then it gets totally washed. Also, this thing about the 2 years you have to make it your actual domicile within 2 years of the time of the transfer. So I think that clause is really for covenant land that transfers. And that's just to make sure that people don't just buy covenant land and hold it and not build on it and get this O exemption. So if you did, then after 2 years of not building, then you're going to have to pay that O exemption back. But in this case, it doesn't matter because you're going to be moving in right away. Certainly not going to wait 2 years to move into this house. So thank you, Caleb, for putting that up there. So we got our answer. What else? Anything else? Any other questions? No? Well, if anything comes up, then please email us info@housingnantucket.org and we'll get back to you. And we'll put this on our YouTube channel with a link on the website. And that's about it. So, all right, good. I'm glad. I'm getting a message that this was helpful, so I'm glad. Good luck to you all. Thank you. Yeah, we're really excited about this one. So. All right, we're gonna shut it down now. So any other questions, then just please email us. Good luck.